Hook from the Blues, Traveler Magic in the morning, 8:37. 47 degrees, 60 to 65 today. Can't wait till I sign off and get to go out and attempt my morning walk. We mentioned good policies with Barrett Insurance Agency. Mike Barrett, together with his wife and a fine crew on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury, been running this second-generation family-owned business for years, and we talk good policies. Mike checks in. How you doing, buddy?
I am well. How are you, sir?
Sunshine, temperatures in the 60s. How do you think we are?
No complaints there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mike, we've had some great chats. A couple of weeks ago, we kind of went over like a 101, like why you guys are in business and a whole bunch of the insurance offerings that you have for people out there. It was roughly a year and a half ago. I was driving home from work up 114. You know where I live, up the road here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just after I drove past the right-hand turn where you would go into the center of East Haven, a truck was pulling out. Wasn't his fault, but he had a stone in his tire that came out and caught my windshield just above my windshield wiper on the driver's side, okay? You know where You know where I'm headed with this, right?
I do know where you're at.
Okay. Well, I'm not the most financially well-resourced person in the world, so I put it off and I put it off, and I probably could have just had that nick fixed, but we did have a frost one morning, and that was it for my windshield, so I finally had to call my insurance company. That wasn't a good call because they told me that the cost to replace my windshield with my deductible was going to cost more than it would to replace the car. Let's talk about glass, shall we?
Wow, that's a great, bringing it on. So that's good. So glass is interesting. You know, they've really made some changes to the glass process of coverage, especially with many companies over the past couple of years. So glass coverage, if you didn't know, is going to fall under a very specific coverage part of your policy. Do you know which one?
Comprehensive?
Hey-oh, you get a gold star.
I got it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an A plus, yeah. So it's going to fall under your comprehensive deductible. So you need to be really conscientious when choosing that deductible in many cases, okay? You need to make sure that, you're comfortable knowing that if you're going with a higher deductible, say a $500 or a $1,000 deductible, that you're very much aware that when glass damage occurs, and we're not talking just a rock kicking out of a truck tire and kicking your front window. We're talking side windows. We're talking you loaded your truck up and the load in the back shifted and smashes your back window. We're talking any glass on the vehicle is going to be subject to a comprehensive deductible because it's a comprehensive loss. So if you have a $500 or $1,000 deductible, you're probably paying out of pocket in many cases. And of course, as you can attest, Jeff, glass can cost more, especially with today's vehicles having sensors and all these other high-end components built into the windshields. They can certainly still meet your deductible, but you're still having a pretty hefty out-of-pocket cost. So how do you make it so you don't have to worry about that? Well, one, what people have done over a long period of time is just choose a lower comprehensive deductible. Maybe do 0, maybe do 50, maybe do 100, 250. That'd work too. Comprehensive in comparison to collision coverage on an auto policy is very inexpensive. Go ahead and pull out your policy, anybody listening right now. If you could ever find your policy, pull it out, and look how much you're paying for comprehensive, and if you have collision, look how much you're paying for collision. 99% of the time, people have a higher collision deductible, and they're still paying more for that because that's more expensive coverage. So take advantage of the fact that it's not all that expensive and have a lower deductible. Option 2, and this is what I was talking about with companies changing things over the years and how it's processed. $0 glass deductibles have really entered the marketplace, and they're available from almost every carrier. So check to see if you have a $0 deductible. And what it is, it's going to be either via a very specific endorsement to do a zero glass, or it's going to be available through a packaged endorsement that's going to offer many things with some companies, such as roadside assistance or rental reimbursement and things like that. But you want to look for that glass deductible waiver. And that means whether you have a $50 deductible or a $5,000 deductible, if you have a glass replacement need, is a $0 deductible, meaning that you don't have any out-of-pocket expense.
All right, can I just jump in?
Yeah.
My problem, and I'm sure there's a lot of listeners out there that are doing the same thing. I don't have a ton of money, so the only way that at the time I got my policy that I could afford my insurance was to have that high deductible. And the reason I ended up having to get rid of my car because it was a $500 deductible for the windshield on my insurance. So I still had to pay $500 plus another $250 because that's what it would have all come out to. So my car at the time was worth about $1,000 and needed about $1,500 worth of work. So with these lower deductibles, this is how people can save, right?
True, but remember, comprehensive is going to be the lower cost of the two physical damage components on a policy. So comprehensive, let's say comprehensive with a $100 deductible is costing you $90 a year. Let's say collision with a $500 deductible is costing you $250 a year. See what I mean? It's going to cost more. That's just some arbitrary numbers, but that's truly how it can be in comparison in terms of a drastic difference in price. Now, when you're talking about doing a $0 deductible, you're talking about adding maybe $4 a month to your expense.
Okay.
So totally worth doing it at that point.
All right. So this is why, and again, this is one of the mistakes I've made. This is why folks should go over their insurance policy at least once a year, and that's not just renewal time. And a lot of folks, they'll have their insurance for a couple of years, but have the conversation with your agent, right?
But we're here to help. That's what it's all about. We live, eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff, which tells you just truly how boring we are, Jeff. But we're here to help, and we really want to make sure that people are taking advantage because insurance is a complicated process, but it's also got a bad name. And the bad name is people having bad claims experiences. I think a lot of the bad claims experiences, not all, but I think a lot of them tend to be from decisions made at the inception of a policy with expectations not being met because of what you decided to have on the onset. So it's really about making that front-end decision and understanding it. And while we're at it, real quick, we're talking about the glass claims. That's very much a springtime event, right? In fact, Jen in her car the other day just had a stone kick up, and she's going to have to get her windshield patched because she's got a ding. But another thing that we're seeing this time of year is seasonal vehicles are starting to get some outside time again. And if you're one of the many folks who reduces coverage on those vehicles, make sure you are getting coverage reinstated before taking them back out on the road so that you can be safe and legal and have a good time.
This is all great advice, Mike, and of course we can extend on any subject come next week here, but I just real quick here, folks, we're talking about glass and your insurance claims. It came into my mind when you were talking about folks with a load in the back of their truck, Mike.
Yes.
Quick story, just as quick as I can tell it. Years ago, I was working with a friend of mine who was cutting himself some firewood and had himself a pickup truck and didn't have one of those, what they call a back rack in it.
Yep.
And we were tossing pieces of wood up in the back of that truck. Guess what happened?
Right through the back window.
Rock maple right through the back window. You're right. So, folks, check your insurance policy yearly. Tell them how to get in touch with you.
Sure. Give us a call, 748-5224. We're located on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury. Online for free home and auto quotes at thebarrettagency.com. Google, Facebook, and YouTube. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency.
And, of course, tune in Tuesday mornings at 8:35. Mike, enjoy the sunshine. We'll see you next week.
All right. You too, sir. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Good policies, magic in the morning. Now, the latest from Blue October.